The Fighting Illini, the Michigan Wolverines, Brad Underwood, Dusty May, Morez Johnson Jr. Let's go.
You are Locked On Illini, your daily podcast on the Illinois Fighting Illini. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome one, welcome all to another edition of Locked On Illini. Thank you all so much for making us your first listen each and every day. And thank you so much for making the Locked On Sports Network the #1 sports network in the world. My name is Sonny Verma, your host here at Locked On, where I continue to provide you coverage daily. That's right, every single day. And some days, such as today, you'll get multiple episodes. Not only are you going to get this game preview, which I'm really excited to get to, but I'll also be live after the game. Illinois, Michigan's Friday night. It's going to be a battle for potentially the Big Ten. I mean, Michigan's already clinched at least a share. So Illinois is essentially fighting for the right to possibly split the Big Ten conference. But again, I don't think that's this important at this point. I think that went out the window once Illinois lost to UCLA. What still matters is beating Michigan. Michigan's a top 2 team in the entire country. I think they're ranked number 3 in the AP rankings. But if you're an everydayer, you know, that doesn't matter too much to me. I've got eyes. I've watched this Michigan team. I was wrong over the offseason. I said I was questioning how all these pieces were going to fit together. Well, Dusty May is a lot smarter than I am, and he made those pieces fit very well together. So for a game like this, I want to bring on a special guest to discuss not just the Illini side, but also the Michigan side, and I'm going to do that right after this. All right, it's Friday. It's a game that most Illini fans circled probably at the beginning of the season. Hand up, myself included. February 27th, the return of Morez Johnson Jr. to the State Farm Center. And who would have thought that this would have also ended up being a battle between the top 2 teams in the Big Ten Conference. All right, to talk about this matchup and a little bit more and to bring a little Michigan flavor to this, I brought in Dennis. Dennis, thank you so much for joining us.
Great to be with you. Ready to go.
Dennis, can you let the folks know real quick where they can find your work?
Yeah, well, I work for the Maize and Blue Review on 3 Rivals, so you can find me on Twitter at Dennis Fithian. Anywhere else you're looking for any Michigan coverage, Big Ten coverage, national coverage, there it is.
Okay, so let's just get started about this game. First and foremost, I don't know if you were involved in this social media battle, so I just want to ask you kind of tongue-in-cheek. Is Illinois versus Michigan a rivalry?
Oh, yeah, I think it's a rivalry. I think that when you're talking about these 2 teams, I mean, if it was, it depends how far you want to go back. But if you just want to look at this year, you already said it. You know, the top 2 teams in the Big Ten. Actually, if you look, I know Illinois is ranked in the top 10, but if you look at the analytics, whether you want to look at Ken Palm or whether you want to look at any other thing that you're going over, the net rankings, this is top 4 matchup. So exactly. It's as big as it can get. And, you know, the last time Michigan won the Big Ten regular season was coming off of the pandemic, and down the stretch there was a lot of Michigan, Illinois back and forth, and Illinois had a point, but Michigan's point was that Illinois is the one that made the rules about the Big Ten regular season title, and then so there's been a lot of back and forth, and I'm old enough where I go back when Michigan won the title in '89, and they had to beat Illinois in the Final Four on a tip-in with Sean Higgins. So I don't know. You could probably go further back than that.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. And I think especially recently, Hunter Dickinson himself, called this a rivalry in the fact that, him and battling these Illini fans. But obviously, now you guys bringing in Morez Johnson Jr., a guy who Illini fans were, he'd been a recruit of ours for like 3+ years. He was a fan favorite last year at the State Farm Center. I think that kind of escalated things. And it's just one of those controversies, which I don't think really is the controversy. I think it's safe to call Illinois-Michigan a rivalry. Certainly not the rivalry for either team, but when you're consistently battling for a Big Ten title, as we did a couple years ago, and that is a sore spot for some Illini fans, how that all ended up finishing. But, this year, let's just talk about this year's team real quick. Obviously, you've moved on from Juwan Howard. Illinois at this point has won 9 in a row, 8 of them against Howard. They did beat Dusty May last year, but this year's team just looks different. And I think it kind of starts with the head coach. Can you tell me a little bit about Dusty and what he's done to kind of change the culture of the program?
Yeah, well, Dusty came in and Michigan finished dead last in the Big Ten and said goodbye to Juwan Howard. And then, Dusty comes in. He did take, his team down in Florida to the Final Four. So he was a hot name, but he came in and used the transfer portal, threw a bunch of players together, and Michigan looked pretty good last year. And then he's done the same thing this year. So with the conditions of where everything's at, where you can go out, everyone's a free agent, and you can put 4, 5, 6 different players together and mold them in. Dusty, you do it once, you say, all right, well, maybe he got a little bit lucky because he got Wolf, and then he had his own guy that he brought up from Florida with him, but then he's gone out and done it again this year. So 2 times in a row, you're feeling pretty good if you're a Michigan fan about the state of the basketball program and where they're at right now. I mean, you can't be any happier than where they're at right now. They're sitting here with just 2 losses, getting ready to head into March. So everyone's feeling pretty good about Dusty May.
I need to ask you. So, obviously you had that loss to Wisconsin earlier in the year, and then you just come off a loss to Duke in a matchup that, was circled by a lot of national college basketball fans, arguably the 2 best teams in the country. Coming into this Illinois matchup, you've already won, or at least a share of the Big Ten title. But do you think the fact that it is Illinois and the fact that you had lost those 9 in a row, that it's the prime reason that you don't think that this Michigan team would overlook Friday night's matchup?
I think there's a lot of reasons, but I don't know how far up the list about 9 in a row or anything, because all these guys on this team, you're not really looking at it. They weren't part of it, but to win the Big Ten, it's nice and, it looks good when you have a share, but doing it outright and then being able to get it done here and then being able to bounce back. I know Michigan played Minnesota this past week during the week, but coming off it was a sandwich game. Right. Duke felt like a Final Four atmosphere. And I think this game tonight, this is going to be one where you feel like this is a tournament game. If these 2 teams did match up, it would probably be in the Elite 8 at the worst, or Final Four, or championship game. And, that's not out of question when you look at how these teams have been playing and where they're at. So, no, I think Michigan will be they'll play their best, and they want to come out. They don't want to lose to Illinois, so suddenly you've lost 2 out of your last 3 to your 2 biggest opponents. Then you have to head to Iowa, which is no picnic. They beat Nebraska last week. And then you end things up with Michigan State, and Tom Izzo would like nothing better than to pop Michigan and not let them have an outright Big Ten title. So, yeah, I think full attention. Everybody's geared up. I don't think it's not like Duke, because Duke, that was a national game out of conference, but as big as you can get for a conference game with Michigan and Illinois.
I agree. So let's talk a little bit about your newcomer, but a guy who Illini fans were very familiar with, Morez Johnson Jr. What kind of impact has he had up there for you guys?
Gigantic impact. When Michigan first got him, he was ranked pretty high for people that rank the transfer portal players and whatever you're looking at there. But when Michigan got a commitment from him, I went and looked at the tape and said, this guy can rebound and dunk everything. That's all the video showed, was him just dunking left and right and rebounding. But then this summer I watched him play in the under-19 in Switzerland. He didn't start the first game, and that under-19 team for USA was stacked. I mean, they had DeBonce and Pete at Arizona and Brown at Louisville. And Morez, he was more than just jumping up and, grabbing rebounds and catching alley-oops. A tremendous defender, could block shots with either hand. He could run the floor like a gazelle. And then he started showing some post-up moves, and that translated immediately to Michigan. It's a great spot for him because he didn't have to be the go-to guy. Even on the front line, they can play off. Michigan may have the best front line in the country, but he can play off of Ade Mara, who's 7'3", and also Yaxel Lundenborg. So that's when you put those guys' hands out, the way they stretch. I don't know. They got pterodactyl front line there. It's like Morez. He's 6'9", but really, he's a 7-footer down there. So I've talked to Morez. He's one of those guys that you like covering. He's not the greatest quote. He's strictly business. Yeah. He's pretty quiet. He's just focused on the game and just wants to win. But yeah, I mean, you couldn't ask for anything better. I think when Dusty May and company said, this is what we hope, this would be the ceiling, this is everything we'd want to get out of Morez Johnson, that's what he is. Morez Johnson Jr., fantastic for U of M, for sure.
Yeah, I really think tonight's matchup is going to come down to the front court because almost every game this season, Illinois has always had the size advantage at the front court. And I feel like I can say the same thing for Michigan. And at this point, they kind of balance each other out. Illinois at some points will put out a lineup with a 7'2" center, a 7'1" power forward, and a 6'9" small forward. And so I think, between Morez and the Visic brothers, I do think there's some sort of animosity between the two after some quotes that were said last offseason. But let's just focus on the game tonight, essentially. 2 losses for Michigan. This Michigan team obviously is one of the top 5 teams, both offensively and defensively, no matter what analytics you look for. When Michigan is going good, they're more than likely going to win every single night out. But what can it take for a team to upset the Wolverines?
Well, on the offensive side, I'd look right to the backcourt where Cadeau, he's had some games where he hasn't come up big in the scoring department, hasn't shot well and turned the ball over, and Michigan still won because they have some depth. But if you're going to get Michigan, I would say Cadeau having an off night, Damari Burnett, who's Michigan's starter, he's put up some zeros as of late in the scoring department. So, the backcourt and how they shoot, but Michigan does have some depth. LJ Kaysen has come in and he has been as good as anybody coming off the bench in the country as a point guard. But so you start going down and just look at the 3-point shooting and the guard play for Michigan. That's on offense. On defense, you mentioned their loss to Wisconsin. Wisconsin had some bigs that were stepping out and just throwing it in from everywhere. The other team getting hot was Illinois has that type of game where their bigs are going to step out and they're going to try to take Mara out there. Morez is pretty good at guarding the 3, but they can pull him out too. I would imagine that's going to be the recipe for the victory for Underwood and company because that's you're not going to I think hammer it down low on Michigan. That's their strength. So that's it. 3-point shooting. You guys stepping out and knocking down your share. And then, having Michigan's backcourt have an off day. I think those two things happened. Illinois easily could win this game.
Tell me a little bit about Mara. I feel like Michigan can sometimes get in trouble when he gets into foul trouble. I do feel like maybe that has to be at some point a part of a game plan of any team that's playing the Wolverines. But you tell me if I'm wrong.
No, I think you're exactly right. I think, having him on the floor, he's a difference maker defensively. He can block anybody's shot. He bodies up, pretty physical, and then he's got some sneaky low post moves. So, and he's a really good passer at 7'3". So you put all of that out, and it really just helps everyone else out. Lundenborg can operate on the outside. Morez can do whatever kind of a junkyard dog role. So when all those guys are together, but yeah, if I was going up against Mara, I would be very physical with him. I would run some double teams at him, and I'd try to get him in foul trouble. Boozer was able to get a ticky-tack foul of number 2 on Morez. Mara, and then Dusty May kept him in there in the first half, and he picked up his 3rd foul, which was, a big factor in that game. So, yeah, trying to get him in the foul trouble, that would be on the short list of things I would want to do if I was Illinois.
And lastly, what about Yaxel? Yaxel, obviously, I would argue probably the biggest transfer portal hit of all of college basketball this past season, a guy who was flirting with the NBA last year. And now he's amongst, one of the names you hear about possible Big Ten Player of the Year. Tell me a little bit about Yaxel.
Yeah, Yaxel, he's, in baseball terms, he's a 5-tool player. He doesn't look for his shot immediately or look to score first. He's more of a pass first guy, but he's a tremendous defender. He's very long. He can shoot the 3. He's been a little bit streaky there, but if he is hitting the 3, I think you're in trouble. But he's got great hands. He's a great teammate. He's got a great personality. So all of those things right there. I don't think he's going to be player of the year anymore. I think that was decided this past week out in D.C. with Boozer out playing them. And then even Yax had 3 points against Minnesota this week and had 0 in the first half. So I think he's going to be, you want him to be, if you're a Michigan fan, be more assertive. But if Michigan is going to go to Indianapolis, where the Final Four is this year, they're going to need a Yaxel Lundenborg who is scoring in double figures and is doing that 5-tool role where he's not just scoring and rebounding and playing defense, but being the passer and all that. But the scoring part is the one. All those other things he brings, the scoring is the one to watch, in particular the outside shooting for.
This is a game that Illini fans, again, have been circling ever since the schedules come out. Dennis, thank you so much for joining us here at Locked On Illini. Can you let the folks know one more time where they can find your work?
Well, at Dennis Fithian on Twitter, I'm there. I follow everyone, especially if you say you're an Illinois basketball fan. Even if you're an Illinois football fan, I'd be there. But Maize and Blue Review, Rivals on 3, I'm there. So check it out.
Appreciate you, Dennis.
No problem.